My son's wife poured wine on me while laying down and said to clean it up before she gets back. The pungent smell of wine filled the air, a sickly sweet reminder of Sabrina's cruelty. What a smell! Covered in wine, you look ridiculous, Sabrina, she sneered, her voice dripping with disdain as she looked down at me, bedridden with fever. My consciousness faded, her heartless laughter echoing in my ears. We're going back to my parents' house now, so clean up before we get back. Don't leave a single speck of dust, she commanded, her imperious tone making me wonder if she was possessed. But Sabrina's devilish behavior was nothing new. She had been excluding and bullying me since they moved in. Wow, that's so tacky, Sabrina. That's really bad. Raymond, my eldest son, clapped and laughed behind her. How did he end up like this? It's nothing. Sabrina dismissed him. So are you going to clean? You don't really have a choice, she said, her eyes filled with contempt. Filthy, she muttered, circling the room. Yes, I'll clean, I choked out, biting my lip. I couldn't defy her. Well then, make sure it's spotless. If it's not clean, I won't be responsible for what happens to this house, she warned, her voice a chilling threat. Too weak from the fever to fight back, I reluctantly agreed. But inside, a fire of anger burned fiercely. I could no longer forgive Raymond and Sabrina. My name is Allison. I am a 71-year-old homemaker. My husband, Vincent, is a farmer. He's a man of few words and a bit stern, but I know he cares deeply about our family. That's why we've had a good marriage for so long. As a homemaker, I should be enjoying quiet days at home. But we live with Raymond and Sabrina. Raymond, 42 this year and direct, 38 are my sons. Raymond married late and brought Sabrina home just last year. She works in the nightlife industry, and her flashy clothes and hairstyles shocked me at first. She's 40, but looks much younger. She probably uses her looks for her job. She and Raymond, who still works part-time, seem like two of a kind. Derek, on the other hand, isn't married yet. He's a gentle, kind office worker. Sometimes I worry he's too kind to attract women, but his gentleness is his best quality, and I want him to stay that way. Blessed with 2 children, my life was supposed to be smooth sailing. But Raymond and Sabrina threatened my peaceful existence. It all started when I first met Sabrina a year ago. She came to our house for the first time. Vincent was out at a meeting with neighboring farmers, so I was alone. Raymond hadn't mentioned getting married, so I was surprised when he suddenly said, "I'm bringing my girlfriend over today." As it turned out, Sabrina wasn't just a girlfriend. They had already registered their marriage a month earlier. I was so taken aback by Raymond's lack of communication that I gave him a piece of my mind. Honestly, you should introduce her to us before getting married. Did you even meet her parents? When did this all happen? You're so annoying. I'm not a kid. I don't need to consult my parents. You should get that. Raymond's condescending attitude made me reflect on where I went wrong in raising him. I thought I had raised Raymond and Derek similarly, so I never expected them to turn out so differently. Anyway, from now on, do things properly. We need to be able to face her parents, all right. His dismissive tone made me furious, but I held back, knowing continuing the argument wouldn't solve anything. As soon as Sabrina arrived, she loudly exclaimed, "What is this place? It's so small." It's true, our house isn't large. We bought a used house 35 years ago and renovated the interior before moving in. Compared to my friends who all built new houses, ours did look inferior, and its exterior screamed old house. But I liked this house. Thanks to Vincent's hard work, we were able to buy a house that, while not our dream home, was comfortable enough. We remodeled it to make it more livable, so it turned into a very functional space for everyday living. I couldn't believe Sabrina would mock the home filled with our memories right off the bat. See, I've been saying it's old, cramped, and uncomfortable. Dad and Mom are too stubborn to buy a new house. Raymond joined in with Sabrina, laughing dismissively. Although he lived in this house until about 15 years ago, he now rents an apartment. Doesn't this house hold memories for him too? I'm shocked, but well, it suits this old lady, doesn't it? Sabrina glared at me and spat out a nasty Revengeful, despite just meeting me. What nerve, mocking our house and speaking so heartlessly to her husband's mother. Sorry the house is so small, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. As you might guess, the rest of the time was a nightmare. I was so shocked by Sabrina's words that I couldn't even serve coffee and snacks properly. Raymond and Sabrina kept looking at me with disdain. Hey, at least be prepared, Sabrina sneered. Sabrina doesn't deserve this treatment. Spilling coffee, Allison. Are you a new waitress or something? Hilarious. She laughed, her voice a shrill, mocking sound. I covered my ears, enduring the moment. I wished Raymond would never bring her to our house again. I earnestly prayed he would heed this, but my hopes were dashed when he called about 6 months ago with unbelievable news. Starting next week, Sabrina and I will be moving in with you, he announced. Moving in here? Why? Why not? This house is paid off, right? It doesn't, Director, if 1 or 2 more people live here. It won't change anything, I argued, confused and upset. I couldn't understand what Raymond was saying. I was firmly against the idea of living together. There's a reason for the stereotype of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflicts, and surely Sabrina wouldn't want this either. Most of all, I couldn't imagine living peacefully with Sabrina. I don't want to live together. It's too risky. And has Sabrina even agreed? Sabrina's fine with it. She said so yesterday. We'll move in next week, Raymond said, his voice impatient. Wait, hold on. I tried to protest, but the call ended before I could respond. Raymond and Sabrina would move in next week. The thought alone sent chills down my spine. That night, I decided to talk to Vincent about living together. Why not? What if Sabrina's okay with it? There's no problem. Plus, they can contribute to the living expenses, Vincent said, seemingly unaware of Sabrina's true nature. He easily agreed to the arrangement. If Sabrina didn't mind living with us, then it made sense that Vincent would think it was fine. Of course, if she were a reasonable daughter-in-law, that is. Since Vincent agreed, there was no choice. There was no way to refuse Raymond's request, so I told him we would accept on the condition that they contribute to the living expenses. Understand? Yeah, I got it, Raymond replied casually. His response worried me, but he was in his 40s. Surely he had that much common sense. 6 months ago, Raymond and Sabrina moved in. At first, contrary to my fears, they both behaved quietly. I was frustrated that they did almost nothing around the house, but Raymond worked part-time during the day and Sabrina at night, so I decided not to interfere. Still, I wondered how they managed their marriage with such different schedules and separate days off, but it wasn't my place to question their private life. Raymond and Sabrina rarely spoke with Vincent while living with us. Their different work hours contributed to this, and Vincent didn't go out of his way to engage them either. A month passed without any major issues. Then I decided it was time to ask Raymond for their share of the living expenses. Living expenses? There's no way we're paying that, Raymond said, his voice laced with anger. His response was completely opposite to what we had agreed upon before they moved in, and I panicked. Why should Sabrina and I pay? The mortgage is paid off, so stop being stingy with that, he said, leaving for his part-time job. I couldn't believe it. I had reluctantly agreed to the living arrangement, believing they would contribute to the expenses. It's outrageous that they wouldn't pay a cent. I told Sabrina the same thing, but she shrugged me off. Get it from Raymond. That was the moment I realized we had been tricked by Raymond and Sabrina. Things only got worse from there. It seemed they resented that I, a homemaker, was always at home, and they began to throw jabs at me. Must be nice being old, living off a pension without having to work, Raymond sneered. Yeah, so you could at least do our laundry too, right? You have it easy, not working. It's only fair that as a homemaker, you do all the chores, but we won't pay any living expenses, Sabrina chimed in. Raymond and Sabrina's arguments were completely unreasonable. I tried not to take their complaints to heart and endured it all. Worse, they bullied me when Vincent wasn't around. They knew I didn't have the strength or energy to fight back, given my age. What are you moving out, old lady? Everything would be perfect without you here, Raymond said, his voice dripping with venom. Even Sabrina, who once mocked the house for being small, was like this now. Their harassment went beyond words. Hey, what happened to this cabinet? Sabrina asked, her voice laced with Lydia. I threw out the old, ugly dresser and got a new one. This one is cuter, she said, gesturing to the new, flashy piece of furniture. While I was out, Raymond and Sabrina threw away the furniture in the house and bought new pieces. All of it was flashy, foreign-looking furniture that didn't match the house at all. Oh, my mother's keepsakes. They had even disposed of my cherished dresser and vanity, passed down from my mother. How could you throw away things from our home without permission? I finally snapped, yelling at them. But my frail voice had no effect on them. Whatever keepsakes are useless to keep around anyway, Sabrina said dismissively. Every time they replaced furniture, I felt like my home was being taken over, and it made me even angrier that they had money for new furniture, but wouldn't pay for living expenses. Vincent, busy with work, seemed too preoccupied to care about what was happening at home, silently watching Raymond and Sabrina's behavior. This house is ours too, so we can do what we want with it, right? Sabrina said, her sneering face filled me with an unknown fear. As these incidents piled up, I was mentally exhausted. Adding insult to injury, Vincent collapsed from overwork. This happened just a month ago. It would be best for him to rest for a while, the doctor said, his voice grave. I felt guilty for not noticing Vincent's exhaustion, preoccupied as I was with Raymond and Sabrina. I see. I'm sorry, Allison. No, I'm the one who should apologize for not noticing. Please rest well. I'll be back as soon as I can, Vincent said, his voice weak. Although Vincent said this, his condition didn't improve much, and a month passed. During Vincent's absence, as expected, the harassment from Raymond and Sabrina had intensified. They would deliberately drop and break dishes or push me to make me fall. In retrospect, I wondered if their actions constituted criminal behavior, but at the time, I was too worried about Vincent to think about myself. Then came the fateful day. One morning, while Vincent was still away, I got up as usual to do the laundry, but I started feeling feverish. I also had a slight headache. Taking my temperature, I found it was 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. A slight fever. I hadn't had a fever in years, so this sudden illness took me by surprise. It must have been due to the stress from dealing with Vincent and Raymond and Sabrina's conflicts. Fearing I might collapse if I continued working on my feet, I lay down on the living room sofa just for a few minutes. It should be okay. Raymond and Sabrina weren't up yet, and I thought no one would complain if I rested briefly. But to my surprise, the living room door opened, and Raymond and Sabrina walked in with large suitcases. Allison, what are you doing there? hurry up and finish the laundry. Wow, a stay-at-home mom slacking off. Pathetic, Raymond said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. I just have a slight fever today. I'll get up and finish soon, so please wait, I said, my voice weak. Wait? We can't wait. We're leaving now, Sabrina said, her voice cold and hard. Seeing their large suitcases, I guess they were about to go somewhere, but where were they going? We're going to my parents' house, Sabrina said, her voice flat. I see. Have a safe trip, I said, relieved to hear that they were going to Sabrina's parents' house. Oh, could you bring me some water before you go? I'm really thirsty. I thought that even they would do that much, despite their nastiness. Hemph, get it yourself, Sabrina said, her voice filled with disdain. Fine, I'll bring it, she grumbled, disappearing into the kitchen. But when she returned, she suddenly splashed something on my face, leaving me speechless. What a smell! Covered in wine, you look ridiculous. Sabrina laughed, her devilish eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. She had poured wine on me while I was sick. As my consciousness faded, her heartless behavior pierced my heart. We're going back to my parents' house now, so clean up before we get back. Don't leave a speck of dust, she commanded, her imperious tone making me wonder if she was possessed by a demon. Wow, that's so tacky, Sabrina. That's really bad, Raymond said, clapping and laughing behind her. How did he turn out like this? He's no longer my son. I realize this clearly now. It's nothing, Sabrina dismissed him. So are you going to clean? You don't have a choice, she said, her eyes filled with contempt. Disgusting, she muttered, looking around the room. Yes, I'll clean it up, I said, biting my lip, unable to defy her. Make sure it's spotless. If it's not clean, I won't be responsible for what happens to this house, she warned, her voice a chilling threat. Too weak from the fever to resist, I reluctantly agreed to Sabrina's demands. But inside, a fire of anger burned fiercely. I could no longer forgive Raymond and Sabrina. Sabrina, after pouring wine on my face, quickly left the house with Raymond. I gazed in frustration, the strong smell of wine making my condition worse. I couldn't even get up to wash my face. Lying there, unable to do anything, I was about to lose consciousness when I heard the front door open. I'm home, a familiar voice said. I woke up with a start. Vincent? Allison, what happened? Vincent rushed to my side. What is that smell? What happened? Raymond and Sabrina did this. I choked out, my voice barely a whisper. Seeing my beloved husband suddenly appear, I couldn't hold back my tears as I recounted all the harassment from Raymond and Sabrina. It had been a while since I had seen Vincent since he collapsed from exhaustion. I cried uncontrollably despite my age. So that's what happened. I'm sorry I didn't notice. No, I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. Why are you home? My health improved, and the doctor said I could come back. I wanted to see you as soon as possible. Thank you, Vincent, I said, my voice thick with emotion. He gently wiped my wine-stained face with a wet towel and carried me to the bed. He covered me with a warm blanket, made me a drink, and prepared some easy-to-digest food, bringing me to tears again. I can't forgive them anymore, no director how much they are my son and his wife. I can't tolerate this. They don't even pay for living expenses, and they do such terrible things. You're right. I understand now. They can't stay in this house anymore, Vincent said, his voice firm. Vincent and I, filled with anger, began to think of ways to retaliate against Raymond and Sabrina. Ideally, we wanted to kick them out of the house, but they weren't the type to leave just because we told them to. So we had to take a different approach. The plan was indeed a drastic measure, In fact, it was something we had been slowly working on for some time. Finally, it was time to put it into action. The plan was sure to hit them hard, especially since they had mocked both me and our home. Vincent and I exchanged a knowing glance and nodded, signaling the start of our counterattack. It took us several weeks to execute the plan, but we finally finished. As we relaxed on the living room sofa, my phone rang. The caller ID showed it was Raymond. Finally swallowing my nerves, I answered the call, my heart pounding. "Hey, old woman, what the hell is going on?" Raymond's angry voice made me pull the phone away from my ear. "What is it? Aren't you at Sabrina's parents' house?" I asked, my voice calm, despite the fear churning in my stomach. "We just got back. Why is the house gone?" Raymond's frantic voice made me stifle a laugh. "Oh, remember when Sabrina told me to clean the house before you got back? So I did. I cleaned everything, including the house itself. Not a speck of dust left, right?" I had taken Sabrina's words literally and sold the house, moved out, and left the property empty. It all started when Vincent collapsed from exhaustion. Given our age, we had been discussing retiring from the physically demanding farm work and enjoying a peaceful life together. I thought Vincent, a workaholic, would oppose the idea, but his recent health scare made him readily agree to my proposal. We had received offers to buy our land before, so the sale proceeded smoothly. Once the contract was signed, everything moved quickly, and the house was soon demolished. Although I liked our old home, selling it was easier than dealing with inheritance issues in the future. We moved to a rental apartment in the neighboring county. Given our age, taking out a new mortgage for a home was unrealistic, so we decided a rental apartment would suffice. Now in our new home, I was on the phone with Raymond. "What the hell were you thinking? Do you think you can get away with this? How are we supposed to deal with this?" Raymond yelled, his voice filled with rage. "You think we're being unreasonable? The ones being unreasonable are you too," I said, my voice firm. "What are you talking about? Breaking into our home, ruining it, not paying any living expenses, and bullying an old woman. Did you enjoy yourselves?" "No director what you say, it won't affect us," I said, my voice calm. "Damn it." Raymond groaned, his voice filled with frustration. They never expected the house to be gone when they returned. Imagining their stunned faces in front of the empty lot was amusing. "Allison, how could you do this?" Sabrina's voice, sharp and accusing, took over the phone. Thinking of her malicious smile as she poured wine on me made me nauseous. "It's my house. I can do whatever I want with it." "It's none of your concern," I said, my voice laced with icy defiance. "Of course it is. We were living there too, so it's our house as well," Sabrina said, her voice rising in anger. "Really? You didn't contribute to the housework or pay any expenses. How could it possibly be your house?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "And I know something." "No, what?" "You quit your job a while ago, didn't you? Or maybe you were fired. Either way, it doesn't, Director. But what were you doing every night? Pretending to go to work." "That's right, you were having an affair, weren't you?" Sabrina's lack of denial confirmed my suspicion. I had suspected Sabrina's infidelity for months. She came home at irregular hours, and her laundry smelled of unfamiliar perfume. She might fool my foolish son, but she couldn't fool me. "After all the insults, you think you can run away now that things are inconvenient? Leave the house immediately," I said, my voice full of righteous anger. So this is really goodbye." Raymond looked stunned, almost forgetting to breathe. I had canceled the phone contract that I had been paying for Raymond. He could use it until the end of the month, but today was the last day. Starting tomorrow, his phone would be useless. Finally, we were cutting ties for good. Wait, Raymond yelled, but I hung up the phone before he could say another word. Exhaustion washed over me, and I collapsed onto the sofa. Vincent brought me a cup of warm coffee, saying, "Good job." Finally, we were severing ties with Raymond. The relief I felt was immense, as if all the past troubles were melting away. A week later, the intercom rang. Looking at the screen, I saw Derek's face. The intercom screen in our home displays the view of the entrance, so we can see who is there at a glance. "Mom, it's been a while." "Derek," he said, his voice warm. "Come in," I said, pressing the button to unlock the door. But then I heard a rough voice say, "Move aside." "I finally found you, old woman. Open this door right now." To my shock, Raymond had shown up, despite not knowing our new address. Perhaps he had hired a private investigator. "I'm not opening it. You just want to steal money." "Leave now," I said, my voice firm. "Ha, you think you can talk to me like that? If you don't open this door, who knows what will happen to him." Raymond pulled out a knife. The shock made me gasp, but more importantly, Derek was in danger. I had to do something quickly. "Raymond, what are you doing?" Derek asked, his voice filled with fear. "You've always looked down on me. What's so great about being an office worker? It makes me sick. And you, living off our parents' money like a parasite. Aren't you ashamed, you little?" Raymond's voice trailed off into a menacing growl. I froze, trembling, unable to move, fearing for Derek. The wailing of sirens filled the air, and I heard people rushing towards us, shouting, "Police! You're under arrest for attempted murder. Come with us." "Wait, what are you doing?" Raymond yelled, his voice filled with panic. The police tackled Raymond to the ground, and I watched on the intercom screen. That was the last I saw of him. A neighbor must have called the police upon hearing the commotion. Later, Derek told me that Raymond looked like a madman and didn't sing like his brother anymore. "Mom, it's late, but I wanted to tell you, I'm getting married," Derek said, his voice filled with happiness. "Really? That's wonderful. Congratulations." Vincent and I were overjoyed at Derek's news, and we celebrated with a feast that day. I realized that having Derek was enough for me. I would walk a separate path from Raymond. Vincent also seemed relieved to be rid of Raymond. Raymond was taken by the police, and in addition to attempted murder, they found evidence of theft and threats. His sentence was yet to be determined. Naturally, he was fired from his part-time job. I never realized my child had descended into such criminal behavior, and it saddened me to think where I went wrong in raising him. Although Sabrina returned to her parents' house, her irresponsible lifestyle remained unchanged, and I heard she was eventually kicked out. Rumor has it that her affair was with a married man, and now his wife is suing her. It must be a disastrous outcome for Sabrina, but it's karma. Naturally, Raymond and Sabrina divorced. I decided to stop thinking about Raymond and move forward in my new home, looking toward a new future. "Mom, this is Lydia. She's a pharmacist at a pharmacy near my company," Derek said, introducing his fiancée. "Hello, Allison." "Nice to meet you," Lydia said, her voice warm and friendly. "Nice to meet you too, Lydia," I said, smiling warmly. Lydia, Derek's fiancée, was 32 years old, polite, intelligent, and very likable. "We're going to be busy from now on, but I'm looking forward to it," Derek said, his voice filled with excitement. We all laughed and enjoyed a meal together. Derek, Lydia, Vincent, and I one day. When they have children, we'll gather around the table with our grandchildren. Just imagining it brought me immense joy. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe for more awesome stories like this. Stay blessed and healthy. Thank you for watching and see you in the next story.